I would like to continue by talking about how to place footage into the composition. For that, I'm going to create a brand new composition. So I'll just go Composition, New Composition, and I'm going to use one of these presets. I'll use a web video one of 320 by 240, which now I will customize to give it a frame rate of 29.97 frames per second. I'll name this composition Second, and I'll click OK. Now I'm going to be dragging files to this composition. To add files here, I can just click and drag down to the timeline. As you can see, they're displayed right in the middle. I can also drag files directly to the comp panel, which is the monitor panel. You will notice that if you click and drag, but do not release the mouse button as you drag, that After Effects will snap this file to the edges and to the center of the composition. If, however, you release the mouse button and then you click and drag again, the snapping properties are gone. By the way, one of your best friends in After Effects is Undo. The shortcut for Undo is Command Z for the Mac, Control Z for Windows. I will undo this. And there you go, now it's centered. You can also drag the clip down and then to the right so that the clip doesn't quite start at the beginning. It will now start wherever that little second yellow pear-shaped icon is. We will be talking about this in a later lesson. And if I release now, that's where that clip, that layer, will start. After Effects works with layers. These layers are shown in a hierarchical view. The layer that is on top is the one that we'll see first. In this case, it's the horse. If we move the horse down in the layer stacking order, then we will see, for example, this quad video. However, if we make the layers smaller, I'm just clicking and resizing. Now you see that we can see more of them at the same time. The layer stacking order, however, is still affecting this horse movie, so I will just drag it up. When you drag a new file into the timeline, you will see a bold black line. That is your indication of where in the layer stacking order this new file will be positioned. If you release, there you go. Now this layer is on top of everything else, and because it's as big as the whole composition, it's covering everything else. You can also select any of these files, and you can use a shortcut to place them in the timeline. So, click on the file. In this case, it's going to be the Cattle 01 movie, and the shortcut is Command/ for Mac or Control/ for Windows. As you can see, this has placed that movie into the timeline, and it placed it on top of everything else. In the layer stacking order, this one would be first. You can make any of these layers shorter. In other words, you can trim them by using different shortcuts. With the layers selected, you can move the playhead to whatever part you want to trim this layer to, and then use the shortcut, which is Option right bracket on Mac or Alt right bracket for Windows. As you can see, I have now trimmed this layer. If I want to trim the starting point of this layer, I can use the shortcut, which is Option left bracket for Mac or Alt left bracket for Windows. And now my layer starts a little bit later. Of course, I can only trim these layers to make them longer or shorter as long as I have enough frames to let me perform that task. I can also double-click any of these layers, which will open in the layer panel. In here, I can also select different in and out points. I can select a starting point, and I can click on this in point for this layer. And I can move to a point which I want to make the out point, and I can click here to make that the out point. I can also click and drag on the timeline itself to trim the beginning point, the beginning time, and the ending point and time of a particular layer. As you see, available frames but that are not showing in the composition are shown a little bit discolored in here.